Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Lessons in Creativity. In this episode, I really wanted to talk about how to actually create more than you consume. So this is something that I feel like I've seen kind of circulating on the internet and people talking about how to create more than you consume and how it's so important, but not really telling you how to do that. So there are three main ways that I think for myself I have found to help me to create more than I consume content. And even just thinking about the word content, and I'll probably go back to this a couple times, like it is something that fills space, at least in my mind. And it's like, if you are creative, your mental space is so important. So if you're filling it with things that other people have created, you're gonna have less creative space for yourself. So one thing I want to start off with is understanding the root of your creativity. Where does your creativity come from? Because I think this is the reason why we feel the need to grab for our phones or scroll on social media, like looking for inspiration, quote unquote, but you're not actually doing that. You're literally going and finding where you can copy and paste. And I'm gonna call this, for lack of better words right now, microwave ideas, right? So you know that you can fall on that because it's something that other people are doing. It's on the For You page, it's on your feed. You feel like this is a trend. Like, these are microwave ideas. You haven't really had to pull anything out of yourself. And I think that a lot of real creativity is deeply rooted. This is innate. It comes from you. And I think you have to remember, like, being a creative, you are a naturally creative person. So you don't need an external factor, and especially not something like social media. You don't need that to be able to create. It's helpful in some instances, but it can also be a huge distraction in others. So really think about where your creativity comes from. In a previous episode, I was telling you guys how I started to connect with my inner child a lot more, and just really remembering who that little Sydney was, who started her YouTube channel in 2015, and just like tapping into her interests. What was she like? What was she into? What excited her back then? Paying homage to that and doing those things now as an adult. That has helped me a lot in really trying to figure out, like, how can I be inspired off of social media? The next thing I want to talk about, and I kind of touched on it in the intro, your focus is expensive. Once I realized that we are constantly being marketed to, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go outside, go to work, go to the grocery store, like, we're constantly being marketed to. Brands and corporations, they want your attention. This platform that you're on right now, whether you're listening to wherever you listen to your podcast, or if you are watching on YouTube or watching on TikTok, like, this platform wants your attention. So your focus is expensive. And as a creative person, you have to know where to put your creative energy, because if everything is fighting for your attention, you can imagine how overstimulating that is, how overwhelming that can be. And if you're in a creative process, if you're trying to produce yourself, then it is so easy to become distracted. It is so easy to give your energy away and your focus away. So from the moment I wake up, I think of everything that I do as something that costs a little bit of my energy. And energy could be time, it could be focus, but everything costs a little bit of that. If I know that, then the amount of time that I'm spending just scrolling, looking for inspiration, as I'm calling it, that is taking away from my creative energy. So instead, how can I, one, fill it up, and two, redirect that energy to where I want it to go? Your life is a culmination of all of the little things that you give your energy to. So if you're going to the gym consistently, you're probably going to be pretty fit. If you are reading consistently, then you're probably going to be well read. You're probably going to know a lot of different things. Same goes with creating. If you are consistently creating and putting out, then you are learning how to be a better creator. You are getting better at your craft in general, and just like you are creative. Like, you're actually within your creative practice. So I'm watching this series right now. It's called One Day on Netflix. Let me know if you've watched it before, but I'm trying to get through it. But one of the main characters, Dex, he says to the other main character, she wants to be a writer. So writing is a practice. Like, if you're not writing, then you're not a writer. Like, it's either you're doing it or you're not. And it's kind of a harsh reality, but it's also so eye-opening, because if you're not creating, then what are you doing? You're consuming. So you're not a creator anymore. You are now a consumer. And I think we kind of go along the sliding scale, right? Depending on where we are in our journey. Sometimes it's about output, sometimes it's about input, and we're just getting the information we need, doing research, all of that. But if that's not where you're at, if you are actually trying to produce and you're being a consumer, then something needs to change. Something needs to shift. So remember that your focus is expensive. And then the last thing is that you have to have systems for creativity. Once you figured out the root of your creativity, where it comes from, how your inspiration develops naturally, and how to properly put your focus where it needs to go, which is into your creative process, then you create systems for your creativity. So I like to ask myself, how can I do more with less? And what can help me to get to where I'm trying to go? So I think of the different tools that I can use that will help me to save new ideas, to go back to them later, to be able to build them out. So like, this is also just built into the tools that we already use, the platforms that we already use. Like your phone has albums. Like, save all the screenshots of different videos that you like to an album and go back to them later. Like, have a system that allows you to save what you need and get through the fluff, because your For You page, it's fluff. Like 90% of that is probably not what you need. When you think about when you're scrolling on social media, how many videos does it take you to get to where you're actually trying to go? Like that video that's actually going to get you inspired. It takes a lot, right? So I think at the end of the week, going back to an album of content that you already felt inspired by, that you really like that has way more intention than just mindlessly scrolling. I think too, like, it can be environmental. Like, go to your favorite coffee shop every week and, you know, having that routine of going to that space, being inspired by what you see, your environment, like that is another way to create a system for your creativity. Like, the coffee shop is where you get inspired, so go there. I say all this to say, like, being a creator is a practice. So the more that you create a lifestyle around creating, the easier it will be, and the more fluid the process will be, so that you're not looking for microwavable ideas to be able to get you through your process. So yeah, I think these are some of the biggest things that have kind of helped me to cultivate a space that feels sustainable, because I've noticed in myself that if I don't create these systems for creativity, then I'm leaving it up to the world. I'm putting it in the wind and hoping it flies, and that doesn't work. That just doesn't work. One thing that is really, really important to me is creating sustainable practices for content creation, for being artistic, and like creating a creative lifestyle, because it's a lifestyle. It's something that you're going to want to do for a long time. So definitely try out a few of these things and let me know what works for you and what doesn't. Feel free to also share some of the ideas that you have for creating, and feel free to also share some of the things that you've done to help you to create more using less of your creative energy. This is something that I'm still working through and I'm still trying to figure out. So as I continue to learn more, I will definitely share with you guys. So thank you again for tuning into this episode of Lessons in Creativity, and I will see you guys very soon.